Alright, yeah, welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing in Standard because recently we had a lovely little ban, Meat Hut Massacre, which, you know, for those who've been watching my videos recently, is a card that I constantly moan about being broken in the format, and Wizards has finally decided to agree with me and banned it. So, unsurprisingly, the format looks fun now. And we're going to be playing around with a 5-color control list to fire it off. So we've gotten rid of Meat Hut Massacre. Let's shove one right back on in. We got dragged to the bottom. We're going to be playing around with a domain style for today's deck. So domain gives you additional benefits based on the number of basic land types in your mana base. So in drag to the bottom's case, you get -X, where X is 1 plus X. Equal to the number of basic land types. So it can do up to -6 for 4 mana, so a turbocharged Languish, as it were. And we got plenty of ways to get land types. We've got all the Triomes, the Spires Headquarters, the Jetmir's Gardens, the Proving Grounds, and the Towers, mostly focusing on 4 colours, red, green, black, and white. And then we've got the blue and the black over here. Well, to be fair, it's mostly red, black, green, and white. But you know, we've only got a couple of black cards and one white card outside of the Kamiwa. So the blue is definitely a splash here for the Kamiwa, but we can generate treasures to also make up the blue there as well. So mana screw is not really that much of a concern. As far as domains concerned as well, we've got plenty of those cards in here. In fact, all of this pile here is a domain pile. So Herd Migration is a fantastic card. I think it's undervalued. You don't see it too much. It's a 7-mana sorcery with domain. So for 7 mana, you can create a 3/3 beast creature token for each basic land type. So we will get to 5 mana by turn 7. Something has to go horrifically wrong for that not to be the case. But you can also, in the early game, not have it be stranded in your hand because it has a channel ability, channel, air quotes, discard it from your hand to search your library for a basic land card, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle, and you gain 3 life. That's actually really, really important and impressive for this card, to be honest. The gain 3 life helps us against aggro, which surviving the early game can often be a little bit tricky in that regard, so having this being a way to fix our mana and also stay alive a little bit and undo the damage that has been dealt on turns 1 and 2 is pretty nice. We also have Leyline Binding. Most of you probably know what this one is, but I'll explain it anyway. It's a 6 mana Banishing Light of a sorts. It has Flash, so we can send it in on our opponent's turn, and it costs 1 less to cast for each basic land type. So, in theory, I believe we are capable of bringing this down on turn 2, but realistically, turn 3 is going to be more likely, and you're basically just going to want to be using it on things that are 3 mana or more anyway, so you don't really want to fire this off on an Evolved Sleeper or anything like that. We also, as I mentioned, got dragged to the bottom, so if we're not doing 1/1 removal, then we've got a full clean sweeper on turn 4, hopefully. Got Llanowar Green Widow, a really powerful creature as well. It's a 3 mana 4/3. It does have the weakness of being very good because it can reanimate, which things like Graveyard Trespasser say no to. But having a 3 mana 4/3 with Reach and Trample stops a lot of things in the early game. And then if we do have the domain, it costs 8 -5, where 5 is our basic land type. So it can come down, it can be reanimated for 3 as a best case scenario, which is pretty sweet. So you get to see this boy twice, which is lovely, and it comes into play tapped if you do that, and you can bring it in on your opponent's end step as well, which can mitigate the tapped downside. I'm also running 1 copy of Shadow Prophecy. This card is really powerful, but the downside of it having a lose 2 life on the bottom of it is a little bit of a deal breaker for me as far as 2nd, 3rd, and 4th copies are concerned. The one thing that we do struggle with is gaining life. As I mentioned, we do have Herd Migration, but that's really about it. So you don't want to see this card in an aggressive matchup where your life total really matters, because we don't have a good way of gaining life back. We also have the Pain lands with Yaramaya Coast and Carplusian Forest, So we're going to be pinging ourselves a little bit. So the lose 2 life's a little bit of a problem. However, it is also a 3 mana look at the top 5 cards of your library and pick 2 of them, and the rest go into your graveyard. So it's got the potential to be extremely powerful. If it can pull 2 Kamiwars and then we just Kamiwar chain, that's pretty sweet. So I mentioned that we do struggle a little bit with the early game. It's really important that we do what we can to survive that. As I mentioned, Leyline Binding can come down as early as turn 2 or turn 3. So it's going to be an early game card, so we can use it to exile a creature if we want. We've also got Tear Asunder as well, which is a 2 mana instant, exile an artifact or enchantment. However, if it was kicked for 4 mana total into Golgari mana, you get to do a non-land permanent instead, so like the first chapter of the Kamiwar. This is a testing piece. Again, it's another one-of. I'm not too sure about it. I don't really want to be drawing too many of these, since the Kamiwar in the late game is going to do the job of Tear Asunder anyway. But there are plenty of 2 mana enchantments right now. So there's like an enchantment list, a green-white one, that has the cost-reducing Monk. That's an enchantment 2/2 creature. So that's going to be nice to hit. You can also hit Fable tokens and Fable itself as well. So it does have plenty of targets in the early game. I think it's worth testing out. Whether or not it's the best card for this slot is to be determined. We've got a Braids as well as artifact destruction, and also primarily as 3 damage to a creature. I think 3 damage is a nice sweet spot in terms of killing creatures these days. And we've got plenty of like -6/-6s and hard removal spells that I think a 3 damage burn spell to mitigate some of the damage from aggro decks in the early game is going to be quite good. But again, time will tell. You can also hit anvils with it. I don't know if anvil's a thing now that Meat Up Massacre's gone, because it's lost an aristocrat style piece. But if we do see some anvils, we're going to just end the game right then and there by blowing them up with an Abrade, which is pretty sweet. Finally, as I've mentioned, we've got the Kamiwar. It's the last thing I'll mention. It's a 6 mana 5 color enchantment saga. The reason to go full 5 colors. Chapter 1 exiles a non-land permanent your opponent's control, such as a hard removal spell on anything you don't like. Chapter 2 then bounces a non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So we can bounce our own thing if we wanted to. If we want to have a Topiary Stomper reset or a Bankbuster reset, we can go ahead and do that. And then each opponent discards a card. We don't even have to bounce, because then each opponent discards a card is a separate clause altogether. So your opponent's discarding no matter what, and we can bounce whatever we feel like. And then the Chapter 3 brings it back as Okagachi Made Manifest, an enchantment creature 6/6. It is all colors. It's a flample. And when it attacks, defending player chooses a non-land card in your graveyard. You return it to your hand, and Okagachi gets +X+O, where X is the mana value of that card. We got some pretty expensive cards, and all of our early game is a lot of removal and card advantage. So if they choose to give us less power, they're giving us card advantage and removal. If they give us a ton of power, well, they're taking a big hit, and they're giving us something disgusting to fire off as well. So really powerful there. We can also, because it's not a legendary creature, copy it with the Reflection of Kiki-Jiki, which I believe in today's video you're going to get to see, which is pretty sweet. You can create a token that is a copy of a non-legendary creature. So as Okagachi gets made into a creature, you can copy it with the Reflection, giving you a hasty 6/6 that can swing right through and murder your opponent that way, which is really cool. Yeah, Reflection getting to copy Stompers as well, which can get you basic lands, or just end-stepping a Green Widow to give you a 4/3 trample is really, really useful. Reflection sometimes can find itself being not that powerful in a deck where, you know, the Fable side of it is actually the reason to run it, and it's a really good reason to run it. But yeah, this one definitely has plenty of decent copies, and yeah, I'm very happy with this one. I've been playing it for 2 days straight, and so far the format's looking great, and this deck is looking great, so I do highly recommend checking out this deck. It is an absolute blast to play, so hopefully you guys check it out. And yeah, if you want to check out even more, there's some gameplay coming up right before that, if you'd be so kind as to hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this in the future. We're definitely going to be delving into Standard more, based off of my experience with playing this deck over the past 2 days. So Yeah, look forward to that. Either way, though, let's get to it. This video is brought to you by the generous support of our wonderful patrons and channel members that you see here. If you'd like to support the channel and get access to cool content like sneak peeks, bonus videos, polls on future content, or access to a personal deck critique from myself every month, then hit the join button down below, or check out the Patreon link in the description. With all that said, let's get into the gameplay. Alrighty then, we go first, and this looks like a perfect hand. It's full Jund colours with double green for the Stomper, so let's go proving ground, pass the turn. We've got turn 2 and turn 3, turn 4 play if we want. Yavimaya Course gives us blue, not domain blue, but is what it is. Guess we'll go mountain. So do we go Fable or Stomper? I think the answer's Fable, right? Definitely gonna kill the Gala Greeters. Don't need them ramping with the treasures off that. Herd Migration. Alright. I think we're gonna go Fable. Thing is, I kinda like my entire hand. I'm pretty sure Drag to the Bottom is gonna be useful. Stomper is castable right now. Herd Migration is something I could cast later. So maybe I just get rid of like Yavimaya Coast just to dig a little bit deeper, since I'm generating treasures anyway. I'm going to be less reliant on consistent land drops. The Kamiwa is huge. Love to see it. So do damage, do Stomper, grab a non-Jund colour. What do I want? I guess white for Leyline Binding. Oh, I should have got blue, actually. Brain farted and forgot I had this in my hand. Yeah, I should have got an island. It's like not even slightly correct to pick anything else. Oops. These things happen. Another wedding announcement. Alright. Well, at the very least, I can go maybe Kamiwa. I'm kind of curious if they'll end up blocking with the tokens if I don't kill Wedding Announcement first. Sweet. Yeah, I'm happy for that. Because we're not going to be able to kill the other Wedding Announcement, most likely. At least not for a while, so... You know. Making it so that they're a little worse later down the line is pretty great. Now we've got Reflection on Topiary Stomper. If they can't answer it. They don't feel like they can. Doesn't feel like they can at all. We've got a Leyline Binding, which would have been 1 mana if I weren't a silly little sausage and picked a plains. But we can undo that problem. It's gonna... Maybe I should have bounced the token. Unsure on that one. I think it's fine either way, but... Let's make a copy of Stomper, which will grab as an island, which gives us full domain. Could go Herd Migration to get a land in hand for us to play, which then allows me to attack for 8. Kinda don't hate that. Let's grab a swamp. Yeah, I kind of feel like attacking for 8 here is about as effective as a Herd Migration would have ended up being anyway. The fun thing is, if they have like a Wandering Emperor, these Topiary Stompers are like really good. And here, if they go for like a quad block, we get the lovely, lovely blowout of an Abrade on a token. Just take out this token, I guess. Not really a 3-for-1, considering A lot of those tokens came from the same object over several turns, but we've cleaned them up now. We've got a Kamiwa on the way. In fact, a Kamiwa that can be reflectioned. So I'd say this game is over now. If you can get the reflection without summoning sickness on the turn that the Kamiwa flips over, you can just immediately make a copy of this and swing with Inokagachi. It's lovely. Don't really care about killing the War Chief. And we got another herd migration anyway. Fantastic. Alright. So I'm gonna offer the block. I think that's totally fine. Kind of done with Stomper stuff anyway. We're running out of lands that it could have grabbed, and now Okagachi's really the copy target anyway. Oh. Well, since I can't kill the Rhino token with the Abrade, I'm going to kill the War Chief to make the Rhino token. I could go for a Leyline Binding on the token. It's kind of a greedy play. Maybe not entirely necessary, but the option's there. And next turn we get 2 Okagachi swinging through and getting me 2 cards as well. Sparus Headquarters, not entirely certain what they're digging for now. Unless they've got a full-on sweeper, but I don't think they will. I think this game is over right now. Wedding announcement or nothing. Woo! Alright. Yeah, we took some extremely aggressive and greedy lines there that, you know, if the game was a little bit closer, I probably wouldn't have taken, but yeah, it felt like we were in a clean enough scenario that I could just waste a Leyline Binding to keep a Stomper around. Not that I really cared to leave it around anyway, because we've got, like, if they trade off the Stomper and they kill the Okagachi, we've got 5 3/3s here ready to clean up and finish the game anyway. And no Wandering Emperor's going to stop any of that, so yeah, I mean, I think this was pretty easy, and on to the next one. Alrighty then, we're in. We've got 4 colours available, which means these Leyline Bindings are active. We've also got the green and a land for Herd Migration to give us a 3rd land for Fable. So, yep, this hand's a keeper. And actually the first mono-black matchup I've come up against since the meme ban. I've been playing yesterday as well. Okay. So, Jetmir's Garden produces white, which is great. So I've got 1 mana bindings as soon as I play this swamp. Llanowar Green Widow. So Llanowar Green Widow gives me like Liliana protection, so I'm not too concerned about that. I think I'm just gonna go Fable, make a 2/2. Try and work our way up to Kamiwa perhaps. Don't necessarily think we're going to be able to keep our Goblin token, but you never know. Not sure what to make of Drag to the bottom in this matchup. Although that certainly makes me wonder. So I could sweep the board basically and get a pretty good deal out of it. They haven't drawn their card off of this, so it hasn't replaced itself. Trespasser didn't hit anything. So I think I'm going to risk 2nd Trespasser and dump the Green Widow. And just keep my land drop here, I think. Yeah, I'm happy, I think, to just do this. They'll trade, well, they'll easy block. And I think I'm happy just to blow up the world. -6 to everything, please. Okay. We've got a leyline binding ready to go on anything our opponent plays here. We're going to draw a card, so no Invoke Despair in their hand. Nice to see. The one sad aspect is that we did use the treasure to get us off of our 5 mana. But we got the migration to help with that as well. What on earth is their hand? Yeah, so I think migration grabs me a land, Green Widow comes out of the yard. We can leave it there until end step as well. I'm just going to cut down my reflection shot. Plays a land. So let's go Green Widow out. And Herd Migration. Doesn't particularly matter anymore what we get. We've got double green. So that's... I guess I need a swamp because we don't have double black. So let me get the swamp. It does particularly matter. Who knew? Alright, let me attack first. Almost certainly just going to Kamiwa the Bank Buster. Not that it does a great deal for me, but I think it's almost certainly what we want to be doing. It does open me up to an Invoke Despair, unfortunately, of creature and enchantment. But I don't think putting it under a binding's really helping either. Alright, that can be bounced and discarded. Not sure I would have bothered to play that. Yeah, I mean, if this is what Mono Black looks like post Meat Hook ban, I'm pretty happy with the outcome. I don't think I'm firing off a Kamiwa for the sake of it. I don't think I need to. I'll just maybe choose to Binding the Evolved Sleeper. Even then, do I really need to? I just don't. I don't feel like I should waste my time with it. Bank Bust, that's pretty good. Alright, start with combat. Do what you will, opponent. What about now? Now seems fine. Now that they've spent some mana on it. And before they block. Now it's gone. Then I can play the Bang Bus and pass the turn. Got draw a card plus binding open. Soul Transfer. Sure. And a Bang Bus of their own. Which just gives me Kamiwa targets, and you love to see that, honestly. The Bang Bus. Very nice. So, kill their card advantage just a wee bit. And then take off half their health. Should have probably swung first, but they didn't draw anything good and conceded because of it. So, pretty decent. Yeah, that was a bit of a weird matchup. We definitely had an opportunity to be punished by Invoke Despair and didn't. Not too much, I don't think, of a chance of being punished by a Liliana. And those are kind of like the two big ones of the Mono Black in terms of this format anyway. We had Green Widow, I think, not really available to get eaten out of the graveyard by Trespasser for more than a turn. So, yeah, I think there were lines that our opponent could have taken if they got a little bit luckier, where they could have gotten an edge on us, but I think we were, judging by the quality of the cards in our hand, just leaps and bounds ahead of our opponent on this one, so it's good to see anyway, and on to the next one. Alrighty then, we're in, we've got technically 4 colors, but only 3 color domain. No red, but we do have green for the migration. So we keep. We can get the green migration to get us our red for Fable on turn 2. So that's pretty good. So let's start with the Rafine's Tower. We can also not use this if we do end up just like top decking a Triumph, and most of the Triumphs that are in the deck are like Jund colors. And then the blue and the white are basically just splashes. White less so, because we've got Leyline Binding. But the only blue card in our deck is Kamiwa, so... Falconwrath, Pitfire. Okay. So maybe a red-black aggro deck of some sort. I'm just going to take 1 to gain 3 and grab a Mountain. I don't think I'm going to chance a top deck. I think I'm just going to get the Fable down. Do have to ask myself whether or not Tear Asunder's really doing much for me here. I'll take 2 for now. That could be them trying to offer a trade so that they can save a removal spell. Wow, okay. Maybe skip to land drop? Alright. I've got plenty of removal. And... I mean, I don't have double green, and I have white as domain. So let's get rid of the plains. We're going to be generating treasures anyway, so... that aspect of our mana's not too much of a concern. And yeah, I'm not fixing anything by playing anything, so let's just play a basic and say go. You have the Kamiwa next turn, which is nice. So I could Leyline Binding one of them, Kamiwa the other, and still swing through. And make treasures. I kind of like that. These Leyline Bindings I don't think are really going to get like some high quality nonsense going anyway. So, white, blue, black, red, green, anything. Just checking I can do this without having to attack first. Which is ideal. Our opponent has realized that the quality of my cards are a little too big compared to theirs. Too many 2-1s on their end. And, yeah, that's all she wrote. We got Reflection ready to go to start copying Topiary Stompers next turn, should that really come down to it, which I think it probably would, because we'd go to 6 mana, copy to 7. It'd actually copy to 8 because of the ETB. And then the Stompers plus the copy would be ready to attack, which is pretty sweet. On to the next one. Alrighty then, we're in, and we go first. We've got a Stomper on 3. But our mana base isn't looking that great, but I think I can keep this, though. It's potential that Tear Asunder can actually do something on turn 2 anyway. And Stomper can get us our red mana for Fable, which can then generate the treasures for the Kamiwa. So there's our turn order right there, potentially. Let's see what our opponent is on. They also have the special sleeves that I don't remember where I got them from. I think they were a Mastery Pass thing. So, really prestigious and well-earned. Is our opponent here? My Groblin isn't. Nope. They are here. Let's see what they're playing. It's a swamp. Ooh. Third Migration. That's a good pickup. That's me end-stepping for a mountain. Tenacious under D. Alright, get me a mountain, please. Another Fable, okay. Yeah, I think I'm I'm gonna go Fable here. Kind of torn on whether I block the underdog. I think I probably don't. See if our opponents maybe got a Liliana here. Yeah, I think I don't, because I'd rather Liliana minus to kill the token. And if they don't kill it, then I could get the black for the Terra Sunder on the Goblin token as well, potentially. Alright, so here... I kind of like my entire hand, although the Fable's looking like a little bit of an awkward option on the old mana front. It's still pretty good. Yeah, I kind of feel like we just keep our entire hand here. And let's swing. Offer a trade. You might not want to take it because they got 6 power on the swing back. Which works for me. And then we're going to go Stomper, and I'm going to opt to take the damage over losing the treasure here so that we can keep the Kamiwa as an option. Alright, what are we missing? Swamp. Okay. If they do end up playing an artifact and enchantment, the option's there. Take 6. Sorin. He is mirthless. And he does make a token. So then. I've got many ways to deal with Sorin. Many, many ways. I have no way of getting Topiary Stomper to attack. So I could play the Kamiwa to kill the Vampire token to kill Sorin with the Goblin. I could just kill Sorin with the Terra Sunder. I kind of feel like I want to get this into play and ready to go. So it's bouncing and discarding. As much as I'd rather hit one of the underdogs with that option, I think this will work as well. We can now Reflection the Topiary Stomper potentially. Now we're a land away from Invoke Despairs, which start looking a bit spooky. Takanuma. Honestly, at this stage, I think I'm blocking. I feel like they might be setting up for an Invoke Despair here, though. They certainly are. Alright, so creature, enchantment, no planeswalker, take the damage, draw 1. There's an underdog. So I could do Fable, make a 2/2, swing, get 4 mana, now I've got a Terra Sunder. Pass the turn. Keeping up with Invoke Despair, not being able to draw cards, I think is quite important. I want them to run out of fuel very quickly, and we've got the ability to kill their creatures now if we want. They're just going straight to combat. It's quite odd. Well, I'm going to kill it. Rather than exile it, I think there might be some better options down the line. Maybe even a good hit right now. Sure. Creature. Enchantment, no planeswalker. Down to 6. That's 2 of 4 Invoke Despairs gone. Shadow Prophecy is getting weaker. We'll basically take the same line of hit our opponent, leave Terra Sunder open. Do have Shadow Prophecy, looking at 4 cards and picking 2, but then I lose 2 to do it as well. The Cruelty of Gix. Chapter 1, creature or planeswalker. Okay. Put my graveyard creature in there. I think that costs 4 mana on the way back out. Yeah, so... spend that now. Thanks, opponent. Drag to the bottom. Not really a card I'm looking for. I think I'll just turn the Shadow Prophecy into a draw spell by discarding it. Got the Bang Bus. Alright, hit you for 8. Do that. Leave my coloured mana open. I think we'll draw because we do have potential for cards to play and we still get to play Terra Sunder. I'm just going to pass the turn. They do get to tutor, but they go down to 3. It's forced 3 life loss. So now they have to grab something that kills the Green Widow. In fact, they have to kill the entire board, really. They know we've got the Terra Sunder. So, can they kill me with a card? Or can they stay alive with a card? They also die to me playing Green Widow into activated Bang Bus as well. Okay, so they get to eat something. I don't think I've got a creature, right? No, I've got a Topiary Stomper. So they can eat my Stomper, go up to 4. They ate one of their own underdogs. We don't question that. I'm sure there's a perfectly good explanation for that. Okay. What is your final move, Kaiba? I am going to end step kill the Trespasser, discarding the Green Widow. But they can change my line of play depending on what they have left in their hand. Because I have Green Widow to attack for 4 and Bang Bus to attack for 4. I want both of them to be clean hits on our opponent, if at all possible. If the Green Widow dies, I can play this one to crew and swing with these two. Discarding this into the graveyard also makes it come back tapped as well, so I can't, like, Terra Sunder, discarding this, then reanimate it to crew. Okay, so that wasn't blitzed. Let me just exile it now. Another Green Widow. Alright, well that should be all she wrote. Because now I get to crew here. And now I have 3 different lines of lethal. And they have 1 mana. Yeah, Mono Black seems a whole lot weaker since Meat Hut Massacre's gone away. Not that this matchup's really made worse for having Meat Hut Massacre, but like, imagine if our opponent was draining me and gaining off of every single creature that got traded off. You know, I might have less creatures, but they have enough that they're gaining life off of Meat Hut Massacre, so it certainly would make a little bit of a difference, though on this board state, obviously, at -8, probably wouldn't make a meaningful difference all the same. But yeah, pretty sweet, and yeah, taking down Mono Black again. Pretty nice. That's going to do it for today's video though, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed, and if you have, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this in the future. And without further ado, going to end it off here. Take care and have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace.